What's up, folks? Johnny here. Gonna give you guys a breakdown on the upcoming Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament. Super exciting stuff. Wanted to jump into it. No, I haven't given you guys a video in a while. I know that all my adoring fans were very disappointed about that. But without further ado, how about we jump into the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix? Pretty excited for this one. First one in a while since really Pride's been doing anything like this. So I've got everything kind of pulled up. Going to go over kind of my predictions and who I expect to win this whole shenanigan tournament. Even though I think the winner probably won't be somebody who's currently in the tournament, a la Daniel Cormier winning the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix back in like 2011 or 2012, something like that. So without further ado, here are my picks. First round, we've got Rampage Jackson versus Chael Sonnen. Should be an interesting fight. At least the build up to that should be interesting, even though Rampage has kind of seemed like he's become a bit chiller with age, a little bit more laid back, a little more cerebral in his approach. He refused to engage any trash talking with Chael Sonnen at the last press conference that they had, so that was interesting to see. But that fight will kick off in, I believe that'll be the first one, and that will be in January. January 20th will be the exact date for that, so Rampage versus Sonnen will kick off the tournament. Then from there, you will have on the other side of the bracket, Matt Mitrione versus Roy Nelson in February. Then we'll go back to the Rampage Chael Sonnen side of the tournament with Fedor versus Frank Mir. And then finally in May, they will end the first round with Ryan Bader, who is currently the light heavyweight champion in Bellator, versus King Mo, who is arguably the #1 contender at light heavyweight. So that'll be interesting to see. That's essentially a championship fight in the first round. So back to the first matchup, Rampage versus Sonnen. In this one, I think this should be a pretty easy one to call. I believe Rampage will take this one. I think Sonnen is going to look for the takedowns. I think he will probably be successful, but I don't know how much luck he'll have holding Rampage down. Rampage is a fantastic wrestler, and according to Rampage and his camp, they have been working almost exclusively over the last 2 to 3 months in preparation for this fight on his takedown defense, and he is a little overweight, a little out of shape, so I don't know, that might actually come into play and maybe be a good thing for him, because it'll make it a little bit harder for Sonnen to drag him down, keep him down, with Rampage approximately weighing in right now from what he was saying at 250 pounds. So that'll be interesting, because Sonnen's going to come in probably no heavier than 215, maybe 220. So my money on that one is with Rampage. I think that he will probably score a TKO. Chael has looked a little suspect to getting popped. Vonderlei caught him a few times, even though Chael went on to win that one. But I think Rampage will have what it takes to hold off on the takedowns. And if that is a 5-round fight, which I think it is, if it's a 3-round fight, it's going to be tough to call. I think Sonnen might be able to take that. If it's a 5-round fight, I definitely got Rampage. So kind of 50-50 on that. I'm not sure if they've announced whether or not it'll be a 5 or a 3-round fight. But 5-round, go with Rampage. Bet on Rampage. 3-round, you're probably better off going with Sonnen, because he'll probably win the first 2 rounds with a wrestle-heavy attack. Then from there, in February, we'll jump to Mitrione versus Roy Nelson. I've got Mitrione winning this in a 3-round or 5-round fight. Doesn't really matter, but definitely Mitrione by unanimous decision. I feel like he is vastly improved since the last time they fought, where Roy Nelson did score a TKO victory over Mitrione. But this time I think Mitrione's going to pick him apart on the feet, keep him on the outside, and jab and cross the living hell out of Roy Nelson's face. So I believe that's easy money on Mitrione. Then in April, we'll come back to the other side of the bracket with Fedor versus Frank Mir. And on this one, I love Fedor, probably one of his biggest fans, but I think Mir is just going to be too much. I've got Mir winning that in a 3 and especially a 5-round fight. I think he's going to take Fedor into deep waters, beat him up pretty bad in the first couple rounds, and either finish him in the 3rd or score a dominant unanimous decision in a 3-round fight. And in a 5-round fight, I believe he will finish him in the 3rd or 4th round. Then we've got Ryan Bader versus King Mo, again on the other side of the bracket. Who I have winning here is Ryan Bader. I think Mo, who is a fantastic wrestler, probably will not get dominated with the wrestling attack of Bader, but Bader is going to use combinations, pick them apart, and ultimately score a unanimous decision in a 3 or 5-round fight. I don't see a stoppage happening here, but Bader should control the action, wear on Mo, tire him out, and hit him with some pretty decent shots, much like he did with Phil Davis. So from there, that's the first round. I will see how everything shakes out, and then I'll do another updated video months down the road for the second round. But since we're on the topic, we might as well roll through it. So if we're going second round with Rampage and Frank Mir advancing, which is my prediction, I've got Mir all day on that one. I don't think Rampage is going to get to him. Mir is actually pretty athletic for a big man. I think he'll be able to stay on the outside. His size will cause issues to Rampage. Clinch him up against the fence, probably get a trip here and there, and if it hits the mat, Rampage is toast. Back to the other side of the bracket, Mitrione I have defeating Nelson, and Bader I have defeating King Mo, which means Mitrione versus Bader in the second round, which those two guys are probably my favorite to win it all, so I feel like the winner of this fight, who my prediction will be Matt Mitrione due to pure size and the fact that on the feet he's a nightmare for pretty much anybody right now in the Bellator roster. So I've got Mitrione defeating Bader in the second round, which would make the finals matchup of Frank Mir versus Matt Mitrione, which would be an excellent fight, something that I would really look forward to. And in the finals, I would have Matt Mitrione defeating Frank Mir in a unanimous decision, 5-round, essentially, because it would have to be because it's a championship fight, 5-round, pretty much clinic on the feet. Matt Mitrione has looked crazy good, and in my opinion, he's arguably a top 5 heavyweight and definitely the best heavyweight in Bellator. So, there you have it. Matt Mitrione defeats Frank Mir in the finals of the Bellator World Grand Prix Heavyweight Tournament. But more than likely, we'll probably see an alternate get thrown in there at some point, and alternates, for whatever reason, in these tournaments typically tend to win. So we'll see how this whole thing shakes out. But if everything goes as planned, those are my predictions. Any way you slice it, I got Matt Mitrione winning the entire thing, and I'm super pumped for it. So stay tuned.